Hey guys, how's it going? ItZMuRdA here with a patch note overview for the patch on August 5th, 2014. Personally, the patch that I have been most excited about, most anticipating, probably of all patches ever. I know the Hassan patch was a big one, the first optimization performance update. OMFG patch was a big one, but this is probably honestly the one that I've been looking forward to the most. Both the directive system and the resource revamp have been, individually probably the two biggest features that I've been looking forward to for a while now, and they managed to make at least the phase one of each system into the exact same patch, so it doesn't get much better than that for me. But I will run through the notes. I'm not going to read every single thing as usual, and I will provide all these links to the notes as well as Malorn's very extensive directives guide in the links below the YouTube video in the comments, or rather in the description. But I'll run through it. I'll show some examples where applicable in game, and try to just at least gloss over everything and give my thoughts as well. I'm really into directives and achievements and stuff like that in general, so you'll see me probably chasing them for a while yet on my stream over at ItZMuRdA.com. So I'll be giving kind of an ongoing feedback as the system develops over there. But anyway, without further ado, I guess the first part is a lot of people helped out on the PTS server over the past weekend, and anybody who logged in between midnight on Thursday and midnight on Sunday, that entire week plus, I guess, the July 24th through through August 3rd, and accrued over an hour total on the test server, were granted the special analyst helmet. I'll jump in game and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And special thanks to everybody that went above and beyond to help out the QA team. Sir Kane, Dark Texas, Shackle, Kalakina, Shadow X, I'm going to mispronounce names, I apologize. Mucho, Itzaki, LCTR, Gustavo, and Kleenex Tissues. That's always really awesome. I really enjoyed, and I still do, but I really enjoyed helping out QA and focusing on squashing bugs before live and stuff like that, dating all the way back to PlanetSide 1. When I helped out Professor Chaos. I don't know how many people remember him. Cool dude. But thanks to everybody who's carrying on that and helping out our current QA team. I try to where I can, but that's awesome. Thank you guys. Anyway, as for, well, I guess first I should say, if you log into game, especially if you have like a BR100 or a character that has a lot accomplished over time, you're going to notice a handful of things. Well, first I guess you'll see in here anything unlocked. Like I unlocked the Tempest, the God Saw, and the Fortuna automatically, 3 Araxium directive-related weapons that I already had the requirements for. I also unlocked the Analyst Helmet for participating for an hour on test during those dates. So that's something to be mindful of. You'll also be mindful of all of these notifications saying certs have been removed for acquisition timers, basically any of your vehicle acquisition timers, or max acquisition timer that you used to, go in there and cert up. And I guess I don't even know if it doesn't even have the drop down anywhere. But anyway, that's where it was. They've all been refunded. So I had probably about 8,000 certs on this guy. It looks like I got about 12,000 back. That's almost maybe just a little bit under that. I don't remember exactly what I had, but that's a pretty significant bump. Keep in mind, if you do go above 10,000 certs, you're going to have to spend them before you can earn them. So you'll want to go and check out what you can spend your newfound certs on. And then there is the Directives tab, which is a brand new tab in here, which we'll talk about a little bit. It shows my current status at the moment. But the directive system, if you don't know, is basically their version of achievements or merits, if you're familiar with PlanetSide 1, kind of expanded, assignments if you're familiar with the Battlefield series, that type of a thing. And Phase 1 is implemented today, where it's largely based on existing ribbons and medals and things like that, statistics, and I believe it's going to be added on into the future with more compelling different sorts of things to achieve or things to do in order to unlock them. But now it's simplistic, but it still has a good bit of depth to it and a lot to go after and achieve. But basically, that's the gist of it. You have a directive score. You have different tiers, different trees, and different rewards. Directive score right now is rewarded for every directive, as well as certs, I believe. I don't know if that's in with this run of it. That could be some of the certs that I got as well. And then with the ending completion of the final tier of a given directive tree, you get something special, like an Araxium weapon or appearance items such as a special camo, black camo, Araxium armor for your infantry classes, Araxium Luma fiber for vehicles, things like that. And I should also post or point out that this post is Malorn's Directive guide. I'm not going to read through it in its entirety, but I read everything yesterday, and it's a really, really good, worthwhile read for anybody, whether you're familiar with the system or not. It goes over everything you could possibly have a question on, and even goes down into like how to earn specific ones for specific classes, weapons, vehicles, and so on and so forth. So I will have this linked as well. But going off of the notes and just kind of giving that brief overview in here, you get to it through this button on your map. These are the different directive segments at the moment, broken down into infantry, vehicles, and weapons. And in the weapons category especially, a lot of them will be, or really all of them are retroactive at this point. So you can see, for instance, assault rifles on this character, I don't have a whole lot of progress with. I'm on the tier 2 or the silver directive with that. I've completed the bronze by doing 2 of these required objectives to get 10 kills with different assault rifles. And like I said, this is all metal based, so this would be your copper metal, your silver metal, your gold metal, your Araxium metal, and so on and so forth. Now I need 1 more. I've completed 2 of the 3, so I need to get 60 kills with 1 more assault rifle, for instance, to complete this, and then I'd be at the gold level where I would need 160 kills with 4 different assault rifles, and so on and so forth, up to the point where you're getting 1,160 kills, so basically 5 Araxium medals with 5 different assault rifles to get you the Gauss Prime, which is the unique weapon for unlocking that, as well as the directive points that you're seeing along the way. Carbines, for example, since I play a lot more light assault than I do medic, I have everything unlocked already just from previous Araxium medals. I had 5 of them, I guess, and this is my progress towards 2 more. So I do have the 19A Fortuna already unlocked, and they are specific across the board. You can probably pull up stats on them. I will post that in the description of the video as well if you're curious. I mean, granted, you can go in game now and mouse over them and look, but if you wanted to kind of at a glance see what's special about each weapon, you could take a look at that as well. The exceptional one is kind of the only fun one, or I shouldn't say the only fun one, but the only different one from all the other weapon-related stuff that's very straightforward. Where this is just seasonal and promotional weapons, your golden skins of things like the first gen SMG, or platinum skins of things, the new golden pistols, the 1-year anniversary launchers, the snowball guns, and Valentine's crossbows, and all sorts of things like that. And that's where you get a black camo as the reward for completing that. I'm actually on my way to do it, so I'm going to work on finishing up these 2 weapons to finish that in the near future. But anyway, I won't go through all of them, but that's basically how it works. The weapons tree works exactly off of metals, and it's just a matter of completing 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever it may be. For scout rifles, it's only 4 because there's obviously less of them. So that's what that looks like. I will show you some of the specifics of the guns. Vehicles and infantry are a little bit more complex. For instance, if you just pull, they're also less likely to be retroactive. So things where ribbons matter are retroactive, like I already had the revive ribbons and the healing ribbons, but things like kills are not retroactive. So this enemy medic kills of 50 would be 50 enemy medic kills while you're playing a medic. Just as an example there. Explosives, I do already have the silver. I'm working on the gold. So I need 1 more of these objectives, either killing 100 vehicles after this patch, or getting 100 multi-kills after this patch, or getting however many more kills with tank line to get a gold medal. Again, that is retroactive, these are not. So if it had a medal or a ribbon associated with it, it'll count from way back when, since you created your character. If it's a new stat that needs to be tracked, like these, then you'd have to kind of restart in that nature. And just to touch on vehicles real quick, a lot of them will have roadkills as an option, again something that needs to start from scratch. But for the most part, you'll get different weapon types as well. If you get creative with, like, say, Galaxy, for instance, you've got a lot of other things: ram kills, deploy assists, pilot assists, squad spawns. So you can get a little bit more crafty in some of the larger vehicles, functioning both as a gunner or a pilot alike. But feel free to browse through these on your own, or read through Malorn's guide for a really detailed explanation of everything. But I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. One more thing worth mentioning: the directive score will show up on your death screen when you kill somebody, as like an extra kind of EPing sort of thing. It's also account wide, so if you have multiple characters like I do, while the directives themselves are not account-wide, the score is, so you can kind of always be working towards still having a decent or a competitive score for what that's worth, which I think is a really good idea for the sake of it. Anyway, jumping back into the notes, you'll notice some new ribbons along with these additions. They updated the resupply ribbon to not count resupplies by senders and to be specifically for engineer for directive purposes, among other things. There's a kill streak ribbon now as well, and a logistics ribbon to kind of separate the resupplies from the ammo box for the resupply ribbon for engineers, and now you've got senders equipped with resupply or repair to be able to give you credit for that one. There are also new faction pistols. The VS get the Spiker, the NC get the Mag Scatter, and the TR get the Amp. A throwback to PlanetSide 1 pistols, if you're familiar with them. All of these essentially were in the game in one form or another. The Amp was, NS essentially. This was the NC pistol, and this was also NS expansion pistol. But nonetheless, it's a good throwback to it. I can probably just hop in and show you a quick example of them for what it's worth while we're here. I personally don't have much experience with them. I've just toyed around with them so far, so can't comment from actual experience or anything like that, but I'll give you a quick look while we're at it. But I'm definitely going to be trying them out. There's the Mag Scatter. Whoa. It can run suppressor and laser and flashlight. Interestingly enough, a suppressor on a shotgun pistol. So this is exactly what it sounds like. It's got 4 rounds in the mag, if you want to call it a mag. And it's got a relatively slow rate of fire. It's basically a handheld shotgun. Not quite as powerful. It feels like you're firing a pump shotgun, but it's not going to get the same one-hit kill potential, even at very close range. And even at that range, struggling to take out an infill. However, if you do jam it in somebody's back, you can probably fire 2. Still requiring multiple shots at that range. We could probably fire. I'm trying to get somebody to spawn a little bit closer. I guess I could always run down there. But fire 2 consecutive shots for what that's worth, as fast as you possibly can if you sneak up behind somebody. Is it a one-shot headshot? Nope. Alright, so speaking of 2 consecutive shots, that's pretty much the max rate of fire of it. Nonetheless, pretty fast, especially if you're sneaking up behind somebody. I don't know how much practicality it'll have necessarily, but it can be good fun for people who like that sort of thing. But like I said, in terms of practicality, you're going to be very, very stunted when you actually need to pull your pistol out and shoot somebody at 15-20 meters or something like that. You'll have a much harder time even killing them in the 4 shots. So I'd probably still roll a regular pistol most of the time. For what that's worth, here I am unlocking a few of the other weapons. And while I'm here, I'll actually... there's the analyst helmet for you. While I'm here, I'll show you some of that stuff too, since we were talking about it. I'm not going to go through every single weapon since I don't have even close to every of the directive weapons unlocked, but I can show you some of the examples nonetheless. I will grab, let's see, Light Assault. I'll grab the Eclipse, which is the new weapon. These guys are basically set attachments. You can't change them. Set stats and everything like that. That's part of what it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be kind of a leg up on your traditional weapons. The carbine is much like a normal carbine, running an advanced laser sight and soft point ammo and a 1x scope, so it automatically has that stuff on it. But it also conveniently has a second firing mode. Just kidding. Make a liar out of me. How the hell did I turn on the underbarrel shot again? Comes equipped with an underbarrel plasma shotgun for ambushes and last-ditch scenarios. No kidding. Is it broken at the moment? I should probably read the known issues. Anyway, it's supposed to have a shotgun on it. I am not succeeding at activating said shotgun. By pressing 1 or 2 or whatever, that's just my pistol, or by changing fire mode. Is just a single shot. Okay then. Will color me confused, but nonetheless, that was kind of the added feature of the carbine version. What else did I unlock? The SMG? I believe so. Yeah, Scorpios. So same deal with this. It's looking at a first-gen SMG with extended mag, high-velocity ammo, I believe. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head, as well as a significantly increased ability to take targets down at long range, which feels really good already. That's something that was certainly lacking in the SMG department. So if you got a 35 rounder with still fairly amazing hipfire, as well as more rounds, good accuracy and whatnot for long range, I definitely think I'll be picking these up. But that's the SMG example for what that's worth. You can also tell the skins of the weapon. It has this kind of like moving Araxian texture. But anyway, the pistol, which I did not re-equip in this loadout. And I will also grab the analyst helmet. Pistol laser sight. Analyst helmet. Okay, so that's, for what it's worth, what the analyst helmet looks like. This is obviously the VS version. It is an NS helm, but it's gonna adapt depending on what empire you're on. If I throw a camo on, you can kind of get an idea of the camo coverage on it too. I think it's pretty cool, especially for a free helmet that they were nice enough to give out to people who helped out on test. I think that's awesome. So Spiker, for what it's worth, is a 2-shot burst pistol that has charge capabilities on it, and I haven't honestly used it enough to know whether or not the burst is at all worth it. Like if I hold down my mouse button, it does one of these guys, and then it ends up shooting, 6 shots instead of 2, I believe it is. It obviously can one-shot if you get headshots, especially. I don't know if it can one-shot. No, yes, maybe it can. Maybe it does just enough damage. I should probably take a look at that. Yeah, it looks like it's possible, I suppose, if you land all the targets. I mean, it could be something like that. Unfortunately, you can't do it while you're cloaked, so you'd have to have like considerable time where somebody doesn't know you're there and then just do one of those guys, kind of like the shotgun pistol and its ambush capabilities. But I think for the most part, if you're going to be, firing this gun like you would normally in a regular situation, you're going to want to just spam it for the 2 burst. It still drops people fairly quickly at that. I will jump onto TR real quick, just to show the amp, which is basically like a mini SMG for all intents and purposes while we're loading here. Oh good, okay. There's the TR SMG and TR Carbine, I believe, both should be unlocked, and there's the TR version of the Analyst Helm. Grab the amp real quick. I don't want to delay for too long here. Same attachments on all of them, and you're basically looking at, as it says, 21 rounds in the mag, a mini SMG, fully auto. All of them kind of share the same knack for being, a weapon that you can just unload in somebody's back if they're not expecting you, and if you're at very close range, you just can drop them extremely fast. At the same time, they're going to have trouble, especially if you wanted to hip fire at a longer range compared to a normal pistol. Although, if you can deal with the bursting a little bit and... Oh, this max is just slaughtering everything. But bursting a little bit and controlling your recoil, you can probably drop people at a further range, but I think they're intended more as ambush pistols for what that's worth. Which I think is acceptable. This probably looks very good. I mean, if people thought the repeater was good already, this is like the repeater souped up. But I haven't really gotten to try it out. It looks like it could be very, very effective, but would suffer from the same kind of thing that the repeater or the Desperado do when it comes to fighting at a little bit of range, and they'd fall off, I think, to other pistols pretty quickly. But in close quarters, I think it'll be fairly dominant for what that's worth. I also have the Godsaw on here. Just figured I can show it while we're at it. They end up getting extended mag 1x and I believe like kind of that modified compensator forward grip, or rather compensator flash suppressor sort of thing, with better recoil control, just inability to have the same cone of fire. It's basically the downside of the flash suppressor, while still having better recoil control, and then you're getting the 150 rounds in the mag. They're getting each slightly different things, just because you're looking at like a SAW versus a Carve versus a Orion, for instance. So while the SAW and the Carve are getting, I believe, 50 extra rounds for their extended mag, I think the Orion's only getting 15. But nonetheless, it's kind of the same approach there. I believe the assault rifle's the only wonky one that ends up with a like a 3.4x scope, which I'm not particularly a fan of, just because I don't use them. But I can understand that for what it's worth, nonetheless. Anyway, jumping back to the notes. The other really awesome thing in this patch is the resource consolidation or resource revamp. Again, phase 1 of this, the resources have been, infantry, mechanized, and aerospace have been combined into nanites, appropriately termed. One resource that replaces everything else. Occurs at a steady 50 resources per minute with the same max pool of 750. Membership and boosts, of course, apply to that, so you can double it to 100 resources per minute if you have both, 75 if you have one, so on and so forth. Doesn't change with territory control, doesn't change with where you're fighting at or whatever at the moment. It's just flat. New characters start with 600. You can check them where you always have checked for your resources. I'll show you here in a sec when I tab in. All vehicles and maxes simply cost nanites to be created, and the costs have been rebalanced accordingly. Same with infantry consumables, and that's why the acquisition timers have been removed, and the certs have been refunded. Auto resupply is defaulted to on now for everything, and you can only carry up to the max possible capacity for one loadout. Like you can't carry 40 or buy or stock up on 40 medkits or grenades anymore. You can simply have however many your loadout allows for, be it 4 medkits or 2 C4 or whatever, depending on certs and suit slots and whatnot that you have. If you had more than this amount, you can spend them down, kind of like if you have more than 10,000 certs, but you won't be able to get new ones or more until you're back down to the limit. New nanite costs, for what it's worth: Galaxy, Libs, and MBTs 450, ESF's Lightning's a max 350, Sunder 200, Harasser 150, Revive Nades C4, and AI Mines are 75. The Flash, Tank Mines, Conk Nades, AV Nades, Sticky Nades, Frag Nades, and Medkits are 50. Resto Kits here differentiating from the Medkit for the first time ever, and actually giving maybe potentially a reason to use it if you're resource starved. As well as the Flash Nade, Smoke Nade, EMP Nade, Heal Nade, and Decoy Grenade, the lesser used grenades, down at 25. So I think that's probably a decent change, but we'll have to see how those pan out. But for what that's worth, you can see from here or from the tab screen how many nanites you have, when the next deposit is, blah blah blah. And then if I get out of VR here, I can show you. It's probably going to still look the same for me at the moment because I had, well then again, I don't know. I definitely had more than 1 or more than 4 or whatever, but it's got me limited to that, so I'm not sure if it just won't cost resources until then or not. This is also the automatic resupply, so I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's on for every single thing, but for most things it is. And then I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of just a more simplistic resource system that I think is more intuitive for new players, less frustrating for existing players, and I'm sure they'll balance and tune the values over time. I worry that it's going to result in too many maxes and vehicles that are just way too easy to pull, but like I said, I'm sure they can adjust those values if that is the case. At the same time, I'm thinking, especially with a boost and a membership, I shouldn't run into situations. It should be a lot more predictable, I guess, rather than sometimes just having so many resources that you couldn't even buy more infantry stuff. You had 40 of everything, and other times being in situations where you had absolutely nothing and you were just starved. That shouldn't happen. It should be a lot more consistent, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one way or another. But mostly I'm looking forward to future phases of the system where they're going to implement the ability to influence resource gain, additional objectives for small squads and outfits to go after. Maybe the ant module for the Sunder or whatever has been discussed in the past. So I find that pretty interesting. Whereas right now it's kind of just like, here's the system, we made it very simple, it's kind of the same for everybody, and cool. I mean, that's a really good baseline, I think, but I'm really excited about what's to come in the future with it as well. And same for directives, because I think they can get a lot more complex and expand and give a lot more depth to that system as well. So we've got the starts to 2 really great new content systems, but hopefully a lot more to come for them as well. Then we have spawning changes. I don't know how, if I just, plot myself somewhere. I can show you here in a second what that looks like. So basically, quick deploy. The death recap screen, when you die, now has a quick deploy option. You can just smash your spacebar or something along those lines. I can show you. I just want somebody to kind of kill me. Oh, gotta reload. So you can respawn at your previous spawn point, or if your previous spawn point still doesn't exist, see, this is it right here. You can respawn with your previous loadout at your previous or nearest, if it doesn't exist, spawn point by just hitting your spacebar key after only 5 seconds. So it's just like the delay of the death screen loading. You don't have to wait for a deploy timer. You don't have to go back to the map. You don't have to do whatever. Of course, if you still want to, you can hit escape, or you can click your mouse, I believe, and it will just take you back to your map, so you can pick a different point, so you can change your classes, so you can change your loadouts, or if you just want the quick deploy after 5 seconds, oh, I clicked it because I was tabbed out. How cute is that? After 5 seconds, you could just hit the spacebar, and it would just automatically deploy you. No loading screen as long as it's within 300 meters. None of that, as the same exact class, same exact whatever. And of course, you could switch out after that, but that's basically what it looks like. If I kill myself here, you should basically be able to see the same thing in action. Just watch the timer down there, press return to redeploy. Oh, return, interesting, that doesn't even exist. Weird. I guess that's my enter key. It was spacebar, maybe I have to rebind it. But you get the idea. I think it's really cool, kind of a deathmatch style spawning system that allows to kind of keep you in the game, and I'm going to be using it a lot. And of course, if you need to switch loadouts or whatever, you still can, but you have that available to you. So that's one thing I didn't even expect in this patch that I happen to be really excited about. But basically, so that's basically what I just said about it. Likewise, with respawning at facilities within 300 meters should not require a loading screen. This is another interesting change. Canopies on top of most spawners have been removed, allowing you to shoot up out of the spawns a little bit easier, as well as pain fields increasing in size, forcing campers back a little bit. And the Sunder gets a new cert, deployment shield, generates a shield that will absorb a certain amount of damage but regens over time with kind of a delay on it, almost like auto repair, but in terms of a shield. Just consistent damage being done to it will delay its regen. You can see here the lack of canopy, so you can shoot out of there safely. Likewise, that means it's probably a little less safe for people who are sitting up on the roof, like this guy or me, since we are far more exposed to enemy fire as well. But it is there so that you can sit down here as a burster or with some sort of thing as an additional air deterrent. Outfit and recruitment, just some more bug fixes, polishing up of the interface. Outfit leaders have the ability to give more permissions for decals, recruitment, applications, and whatnot to their other ranks within the outfit. Just some other simple bug fixes here, more notifications when somebody applies, decals updating correctly, filter for outfit size when you're browsing for outfits, base capture now calculating correctly before EXP buffs, so that the deciding factor on which outfit captured a base is based on truly performance and participation, and not which has the most boosts or membership. So that makes sense. Better looking and more visible faction banners as well. Content locking changes. All alerts were removed except for the adversarial alerts, which have replaced them. They trigger when a empire controls at least 75% of a continent, and then have a few different conditions. Basically, we're going to be seeing less alerts unless people are ghost capping or fighting on other continents and trigger this sort of thing. Once an empire controls 75%, alert starts right away, and you basically, if you can get to 85%, you win. Or if the defending empire gets to 35%, it's kind of like that 10% swing, even though I know it's not going to always be one empire holding the remaining 25%, then they win. So a continent will lock if the attacker wins. I believe it'll just stay open if the defender wins, or if there's a draw. They have a 1 hour time limit instead of a 2 hour, and no 2-minute countdown. They just start right on that. There's also a 30% EXP boost for participating in it, up from 20%. And the rewards are fairly similar. If you get the attacker victory, you get 5,000 before boosts. Defender gets 500. If the defender wins, you get 5,000. For every other situation, you get a portion of 5,000 based on how much territory you control, just like it used to be. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like there's going to be less alerts since they are so player-driven and also have a little, just a tiny bit of fluctuation, and they activate at 75 and you win at 85, or so on and so forth. So I don't know if it'll result in less continents being locked, or just one continent staying locked for longer, but I guess we'll have to see. This is just the first of many different alert types I think they have planned, so they're kind of going back to a simple phase 1 re-implementation of the system on this too, which I think makes sense as far as wanting players to drive alerts and to drive continent locking, and makes sense for organized raids and platoons and outfits and stuff like that. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't think it'll change too much for me as a relatively solo player, but nonetheless it'll be interesting to see how it plays out as well. There's some balance changes to tank primary weapons, rocket launchers, and bulldogs. I am personally a fan of all of this, going the way of the Liberator, trying to make things less of a one-hit kill from far away just due to an explosion, is I guess the easiest way to put it. I'm not going to read through every single thing, but more or less all of the rocket launchers for heavy assault had their blast damage reduced, so that splash damage is not going to kill a target, an infantry player, ever. And that even a one-hit kill will not happen on direct hits if they're using max rank of flak armor, which I think makes sense. So both the radius and the damage of that splash was reduced. The Decimator took a larger hit just based on where its stats were to make it possible for max flak armor to survive, just given the higher direct damage hit that it has. Tank primaries, they mostly adjusted. I mean, it has all the specifics here, but the idea is basically defining better roles for both the heat and the HE variants. They're practically identical, other than the fact that heat does more damage to tanks on a single hit, but it can't kill one hit. It can't one-hit kill infantry with just the splash damage. HE does less damage to tanks on a single hit, but it can one-hit kill infantry even with just the splash damage. So I think that makes a little bit more sense as far as defining those roles for tanks. And finally, the Bulldog being adjusted so that it requires more actual accurate shots on target. Same kind of treatment as everything else. Blast damage is being reduced, inner blast radius and outer blast radius are being reduced by a meter in both areas, and the air version only for the Gals and Libs have their projectile speed reduced to match the Zephyr. So I think that's a good start. I know it's been one of the most frustrating things to die to recently, so we'll see how those play out. And can probably redeploy out of here since I'm just hearing chain guns over and over and over, engineer turrets and whatnot, or at least move away from the sounds a little bit. Anyway, then you've got some similar adjustments for some of the secondary weapons. The AI versions, the canister is basically increasing its effective range by increasing the min damage and tightening the pellet spread. The PPA is performing a little too well, so it is, I say a little, but we all know. Anyway, the mag size is being reduced fairly drastically, as well as the reserve ammo and whatnot, from 50 down to 20, and the visual is scaled down 50% just because they felt like it made more sense to be in line with the explosion and the actual visual, but it doesn't actually change anything based on its collision. The Marauder is getting a projectile speed increase to help make it a little bit easier to hit with compared to its previous version, or like the Fury, for instance. The Walkers, both the ground and air version, and the Drake are getting projectile speed increases and conifier changes to make them identical to one another, for what that's worth, an increase and a decrease, respectively. Then you've got the repair tool, targeting being adjusted based off of the vehicle bounding box instead of the origin. Basically means that you'll have more consistency in regard to when you can repair and how far you have to be and where you're aiming it relative to the vehicle. It's just a quality of life fix in that regard. And this is a quality of life fix that I've been wanting for a while. Even though I don't spend a lot of time in vehicles, the cruise control or the auto run for vehicles will just stop functioning whenever you would like tab out, or you would open up your map or something like that. And I'm somebody who auto runs a ton, so that was always really frustrating. So I'm very glad to see that they're fixing that or changing that, so that it functions like infantry auto run and will still keep you driving or flying in your intended direction while you're checking a map or checking something else out. Miscellaneous changes, new player studio items have been added. Check out the depot for that. New loading screen. Changing of descriptions and text to be more accurate with regard to changes that may have happened. They finally removed the word commissioner from all of the NS7 PDW ribbon and metal strings. Reskinning of turrets for optimization, polishing of small deployable objects, and then they temporarily removed motion blur from settings because it has been disabled. There's more in the known issues down below. Bug fixes, I don't think I want to read all of them, as with every patch, basically fixing of crashes, fixing of memory leaks, fixing animations, fixing tooltips, things that just didn't adjust properly. I think the one that I want to, and it may be more than one, and I'm not remembering, but the one that I definitely wanted to mention was the squad beacon cooldown timer, and thanks ItZMuRdA for the reproduction steps, is incorrect if a squad member respawns with squad deploy. That was always really frustrating to hit squad deploy. You'd spawn on the beacon in your squad because it's the closest spawn point to your squad leader, and then it like screws over the respawn timer, and it's like a minute and a half or something. So I'm actually really glad that was finally tracked down and fixed. So I think that kind of ends the notes. Tutorial disabled temporarily, but they're hoping to have it up the first hotfix after the patch. Motion blur is again disabled due to the input lag issue, which I guess I should mention is somewhere in, I don't know if it's in Miscellaneous, or I don't know if it's in bug fixes. I don't know why I can't find it. I'm probably like looking at it right this very moment. But anyway, there is an input lag mouse smoothing issue that was fixed, and very glad to hear that, for what that's worth. So that was another thing worth mentioning out of that list. But anyway, back to the known issues. Help page missing for directives. It's going to get in, but that guide that Malorn posted is amazing, so I definitely would refer to it. Likewise with the tooltips. Commissioner reload, Tier 4 launcher directives can't be completed by VS or NC. Be hotfixed later this week. Tier 2 sidearm directives for the underboss is wanting the gold medal. Hey, where's thanks ItZMuRdA for pointing this one out. I tweeted that to Malorn yesterday. No worries. I'm not offended. But that is going to be fixed and hotfixed as well. And the ejection seat in the center will be hotfixing, but have fun with it over the next day or so. A couple seats in the center will launch players out with too much force. That sounds pretty interesting. I haven't seen that yet. Anyway, that wraps it up. It's a really long video, but it would have been so many hours longer if I had actually gone through all of the directive stuff and whatnot. Nonetheless, really looking forward to the system. I will be streaming at least, should be every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, from about 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern over at ItZMuRdA.com for my normal stream, where I'm going to focus on a handful of these directives and just check out the new patch and give my feedback in kind of that live format. And then I will be leaving for SOE Live after that, so I will be in touch from SOE Live. Hopefully I'll see a lot of you guys there, and then we'll be returning kind of the last week in August to get back into streaming. But there's going to be a good week and a half or so in there where there probably won't be too much stream action while we're traveling and while we're there. But nonetheless, really glad that this patch came out. Very excited about it. And I will see you guys over on the stream. Please leave your comments and questions and whatnot, things that you like and dislike and are looking forward to. And I will see you over at ItZMuRdA.com. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.